It is time for the last Business Matters segment of the week. Joining us now is not Don Ma. Paul, good to see you.
Fiona, great to see you. Great to see you.
What do you have for us?
Well, let's see. Happy New Year, by the way.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you guys at home as well. Now, Apple's coming under a little bit of pressure in the world's largest smartphone market, and it's not here in America, it's in China. China's economy is slowing, and local competition for Apple is heating up. In November, foreign phone shipments to China totaled around 3 million units. Now, it might sound like a lot, but that's almost a 50% drop compared to the same month a year ago. And this is all according to data from a government-affiliated research firm released today. Now, the bulk of those shipments is from Apple. The tech giant launched a rare promotion in China yesterday, cutting its prices by up to about $70. This is to boost sales. But meanwhile, Huawei has emerged as a challenger to Apple, trailing just behind it in market share in the third quarter of last year. The Chinese economy, of course, is still dragging its feet. Chinese leader Xi Jinping saying the country's economy was facing challenges from uncertainties in his New Year's speech. And a federal appeals court killed net neutrality on the federal level yesterday. It's a win for Trump's incoming FCC commissioner. He had called it an internet power grab. Net neutrality rules forbid internet service providers, or ISPs, from speeding up or slowing down the connection to certain websites. To give you an example, Comcast is both an ISP and a content creator. Back in the day, it tried to stop users from using file-sharing services. And also, an ISP could potentially choose to speed up its own platforms and slow down connections to competitors. So as a solution, the Federal Communications Commission has been fighting to regulate broadband providers as utilities. That way they could have had more control over the internet service providers, but a 3-judge panel in the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Sixth Circuit in Cincinnati ruled the FCC does not have such authority. And Nick Clegg, the president of global affairs for Meta, is stepping down after 7 years. The former UK deputy prime minister announced his departure on Facebook. He'll be replaced by Joel Kaplan. He served in the White House under George W. Bush and has overseen Meta's relations with Republicans. The leadership change comes just before President-elect Trump returns to the White House. Trump has previously accused Meta of censoring conservatives. And since the election, some big tech leaders, though, have worked to improve ties with Trump. Mark Zuckerberg, Meta CEO, even dined with him at Mar-a-Lago. And changes to the federal electric vehicle tax credit list have been made. While the Tesla Cybertruck, it's in the news at the moment, it's been added to the list. Shares in Stellantis and Volkswagen dropped after losing the EV subsidy. NTD's Sean Marshall has more.
Both Volkswagen and Stellantis shares declined Friday when some of their models lost EV tax credit status here in the U.S. Stellantis shares dropped to 3.5% in Milan, and VW stock went down 1.3% in Frankfurt. Stricter rules on battery parts and raw materials took them off the Inflation Reduction Act list of eligible vehicles. Some EV and plug-in models from Rivian, Ford, and Nissan also became ineligible for the tax credit, although people interested in a Cybertruck might be happy that it was added to the list. Hyundai, which includes the Kia and Genesis brands, now has models that are eligible for the $7,500 EV tax credit. New models that qualify for the credit are the Cadillac Optic, Hyundai Ioniq 5, Hyundai Ioniq 9, Kia EV6, Kia EV9, and Genesis electrified GV70. Sean Marshall, NTD News.
And JetBlue Airways has been slapped with a $2 million fine. This is the first time the Department of Transportation has penalized the airline for delays. The department says $1 million will go to customers affected by the delays or disruptions. The other half will go to the U.S. Treasury. The DOT found that 4 of JetBlue's routes were chronically delayed, totaling at least 145 flights over a year and a half. It's a lot of delays. JetBlue said the company appreciates how important it is for passengers to arrive on time, but it also added that it believes accountability for reliable air travel equally lies with the U.S. government. It operates the nation's air traffic control system, after all. And almost a year after a door plug blew off an Alaska Airlines flight, Boeing has released its safety enhancement updates. The company announced that it had focused on elevating its safety and quality culture, investing in workforce training, simplifying manufacturing processes and plans, and eliminating defects. This included addressing concerns raised by employees and reinforcing confidentiality protection. And continuing on this, the FAA says its intensified oversight of Boeing will continue indefinitely. Outgoing FAA Chief Michael Whitaker says the agency is conducting unannounced audits and monthly reviews with Boeing executives, and he emphasized the need for a cultural shift, prioritizing safety over profits. Boeing says it's made progress, including reducing defects and improving quality audits, but the FAA says more work is needed. And the president has blocked Nippon Steel's bid to take over U.S. Steel. The move dealt a potentially fatal blow to the contentious merger plan after a year of review. In a statement today, Biden said a strong domestically owned and operated steel industry represents an essential national security priority. Oh, and he added that without domestic steel production and domestic steel workers, the U.S. is not as strong. Here's what we know so far.
Nippon Steel was set to pay $14.9 billion to acquire its rival, but the deal had faced widespread opposition from US politicians and labor unions. Biden has said he wants US Steel to be domestically owned and run. Meanwhile, President-elect Donald Trump has vowed to block the deal when he takes over later in January. Despite the opposition, shareholders in the US firm voted overwhelmingly to approve the takeover. The two companies had also sought to assuage concerns. Among other measures, Nippon offered to honor all agreements in place with US steel unions. Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba had urged Biden to approve the takeover to avoid marring ties between the allies.
And a last-ditch effort to curb congestion pricing in New York. NBC is reporting today that a New Jersey federal judge considered a temporary restraining order. New Jersey officials and attorneys have argued it will suffer from the new traffic patterns. New York's congestion toll is said to be the first in the United States, with a spokesperson for the governor of New York saying the toll will start as scheduled. That's starting Sunday, January 5th. Now, the crossing Manhattan can cost as much as $21, that's depending on the vehicle and time, with business owners warning the added cost would be passed on to consumers. And JP Morgan analysts are supporting Carvana as its shares continued to slide today after Hindenburg Research declared a short position in the company. Now, Hindenburg focuses on the practice of short selling. That's when a firm bets on and profits from a stock's decline. The short seller will borrow shares and then immediately sell them, expecting to buy them back at a lower cost, thus making a profit. In its report, Hindenburg pointed out the concerns over Carvana's gross profit per unit in loan sales. But in a statement, Carvana fired back on the report, calling it intentionally misleading and inaccurate. JP Morgan says its own research didn't suggest any red flags with the car company. And a North Korean man dubbed by some as the cryptocurrency king pleaded not guilty in his first U.S. court appearance today. Do Kwon co-founded Singapore-based Terraform Labs and developed the Terra USD and Luna currencies. Authorities say investors worldwide were harmed when the two digital currencies crashed in 2022 and lost an estimated $40 billion. The indictment against Kwon alleges he misled investors about Terra USD, a so-called stablecoin is designed to maintain a value of $1. Federal prosecutors unsealed the 9-count indictment charging Kwon with securities fraud, wire fraud, commodities fraud, and money laundering conspiracy. In case you're in the market, expensive Rolex watches are getting more expensive in 2025. Gold prices up after all, after central banks around the world cut rates last year. Rolex gold watches cost as much as 14% more this year. That's compared to 2024. And compare that to the company's steel models, they're just up about 3%. Bargain. And Beijing is cranking up fiscal stimulus to revitalize its faltering economy. Estate planning officials said that China will sharply increase funding from ultra-long government bonds this year. The goal will be to spur business investment and consumer-boosting initiatives, with one official at China's National Development and Reform Commission saying the special bonds will be used to fund large-scale equipment upgrades and trade-ins of consumer goods. Now, the world's second biggest economy has struggled over the past few years due to a severe property crisis, also high local government debt, and weak consumer demand. And the Goodyear blimp is celebrating its 100th year in flight. To mark the milestone, Goodyear has appearances planned in more than 100 cities throughout North America and Europe at sporting events and festivals. Goodyear kicked things off Wednesday, appearing at the 111th Rose Bowl game, a tradition since 1955. Only 0.0006% of Americans can say they've ever flown in the Goodyear blimp, but fans can enter for a chance to do so through a sweepstakes on Goodyear's website. And Elon Musk today praising the Cybertruck for withstanding the flames after it exploded in Las Vegas on New Year's Day. The eccentric billionaire is kind of known for his unconventional public relations methods, so we asked a PR professional for her take.
Most firms don't want to see this. Their signature product engulfed in flames at the center of an investigation for possible terrorism. But Elon Musk praises the Cybertruck for enduring the fire.
He is doing something we actually advocate when possible, which is using a crisis as an opportunity.
Public relations expert Kelsey Kittner specializes in PR emergencies. She says Musk did a solid job when he posted, "The battery pack never even caught fire, and the tires are still inflated. Once we get this Cybertruck back to Tesla, we'll buff out the scratches and get it back on the road." Kittner says he touts his product while also helping the Las Vegas police, who are investigating the New Year's Day explosion.
He gave us quite a bit of additional information in regards to how the vehicle was locked after it exploded due to the force of the nature.
Sheriff Kevin McMahill thanked Musk and also praised the Cybertruck's durability.
It had most of the blasts go up through the truck and out. In fact, if you look on that video, you'll see that the front glass doors at the Trump hotel were not even broken.
The Cybertruck has been advertised for its toughness. It can reportedly withstand bullets, while Musk says most bullets would completely go through most other cars. The billionaire has a very unconventional PR strategy of constantly posting on X without a filter.
He does not follow general crisis PR guidelines, but because of his personality and his the extreme success of Tesla, it just really works for him. But it is not a playbook I would recommend to most others.
Kittner calls Musk's approach wild and says he probably won't become a PR strategy thought leader, but she is interested in seeing his next post.
All right, so what do you think of Elon Musk's PR? You can let us know in the comments or write us an email. Now, down to Wall Street, all green for the day. See the S&P up about 1.26%, Dow Jones up about 0.8%, and the Nasdaq up about 1.77% today. All smiles on Wall Street. With that, Fiona, back to you.
All smiles, love ending the week like that. Paul, I got a question for you.
Yep.
Have you ever been on a blimp?
A blimp, like the Goodyear blimp, right?
Yeah.
I'm one of the Americans who has never been on the Goodyear blimp.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll enter the sweepstakes.
You should.
Yeah.
I guess I haven't been on a blimp either.
No.
Maybe I should enter the sweepstakes too.
Yeah, I'm kind of always afraid. You see those images from the old movies, right? Of
Right.
like the zephyrs coming down or something, right? This is kind of what's ingrained in me.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess, hey, based on today's news, maybe the Cybertruck is safer, right?
The Cybertruck, what do you think of it? Can you believe it with two pieces of news, not just in Elon Musk, which we're kind of used to at this point, but on the Cybertruck alone, one on the EV credits and now on Musk doing this. Yeah, it's a pretty incredible story, what's happening.
I know, I mean, obviously
Vegas.
very, very sad what happened, but also very impressive. You know, I saw those reports that the hotel glass doors out front, right beside the truck, they didn't even shatter from the explosion, I believe. And pretty incredible if you ask me.
What did you take away from the press conference with the police authorities just now?
Well, honestly, I mean, they spoke a lot about what happened. There's still, of course, it's very early in the investigation. There's still a lot to uncover. But right now, it just seems that from what the authorities are saying, this was a highly decorated service member who had a lot of PTSD, a lot of struggles. Either way, such a sad story.
It seems that he has left some documents, some references behind that the officers said they were going to release at the end of that conference.
Absolutely. I guess we'll have to wait and see what comes out of
One
it.
to follow. Hey, Fiona, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy Friday.
Yeah.
Have a great weekend. Thank you, Paul.